Good day, everybody. My name is Mariano Ramirez, and I'm a Senior Lecturer in Industrial Design at the University of New South Wales. I'm pleased to be here in Curitiba for the World Distributed Conference of the Learning Network on Sustainability. Today, I'll be presenting my paper, South-to-South Solutions, a collection of Southern Hemisphere approaches to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, or SDG. Why South-to-South? Two short reasons. Firstly, countries in the Southern Hemisphere share many similarities, not only in experiencing seasons opposite to the Northern Hemisphere, but also in many of the sustainability challenges that they face. Secondly, this paper is part of a project funded by the Australian Government's Council on Australian-Latin American Relations, or COALAR, titled South-to-South, Activating Cooperation Through Education in Design for Sustainability, or DFS. This project is a collaborative endeavor of DFS educators from 8 universities in Australia, Brazil, Argentina, Colombia, and Peru. All the partners in the South-to-South project are educators affiliated with the LeNS, and so far South-to-South activities have taken place in our partner universities in Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, and Curitiba. Next week, it will continue in Lima, then Bogota, Buenos Aires, and Mar del Plata. The current phase of the project involves an initial collection of case studies of products, services, and systems that deliver positive impacts to society, the environment, and the economy in Australia and Latin America. Today, I'll be sharing a small sample of the 60 case studies that I have collected so far. SDG 1. No poverty. Eradicating poverty is the biggest ambition of the SDG. Australia, despite being amongst the world's 20 richest countries, has a homelessness problem, with almost 14,000 rough sleepers living on the streets, sleeping in the parks, squatting, staying in their cars, or living in makeshift dwellings. The Pack Bed from the Melbourne-based social enterprise Swags for Homeless is an attempt to give dignity and emergency relief to people who are sleeping rough. This weatherproof tent with padded mattress made of lightweight tough material offers full body protection year-round against mosquitoes in summer and against chilling temperatures in winter. 15,000 backpack beds have so far been distributed to homeless and disaster victims, with almost 400 welfare agencies across Australia, United States, United Kingdom, New Zealand, Germany, Canada, and Spain. SDG 2. Zero Hunger. In 2004, Oz Harvest was launched in Sydney to stop the food from the hospitality industry going to waste. Thus became Australia's first food rescue organization, redistributing surplus food to people in need. Now partnered with over 3,400 food donor businesses nationwide, Oz Harvest collects perishable food and delivers it free of charge to over 1,300 local charities. In 2017, Oz Harvest opened Australia's first surplus food supermarket based on a take what you need, give if you can philosophy, making the food available to those having difficulty in making ends meet. Curitiba is internationally acclaimed as a world leader in urban sustainability innovations. Since 1991, the city has been running its Cambio Verde Green Exchange initiative. Informal waste pickers wheel their cars of salvaged recyclables, plastic bags, and used cooking oil to the trash collection centers and trade these for fruit, vegetables, and eggs. 4 kilograms of recyclables will buy 1 kilogram of fresh produce. About 10,000 people participate in this trash for food bartering service. By keeping the streets clean of garbage that is not garbage, Cambio Verde help reduce the litter from waterways and lower the incidence of mosquito-borne diseases. SDG 3. Good Health and Well-Being. When Australia's Royal Flying Doctor Service began its operations in 1928, it became the world's first air ambulance. 90 years later, it has grown to become one of the largest and most comprehensive aeromedical response organizations in the world, providing emergency and primary healthcare services for people in rural, remote, and regional Australia. Last year, with its 71 aircraft and 124 healthcare vehicles in 23 air bases around Australia, the flying doctors, dentists, nurses, and paramedics traveled 27 million kilometers to deliver vital health services, transporting 113,000 patients by air and by road. Bogota Ciclovia engages the public in weekly fitness and health activities in pedestrian priority city streets from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Sundays and public holidays. Over 120 kilometers of Bogota's main roads are temporarily closed to private cars and open only to cyclists, runners, skaters, pedestrians, and public transport. This Bogota tradition started way back in 1974, and about 2 million people participate weekly. An offshoot of the ciclovia is the Recreativa, where aerobics and yoga instructors and musicians lead the people in dancing, physical exercise, and sports activities. Bogota Ciclovia has been replicated in many other municipalities and cities in Latin America. SDG 4. Quality Education. In 1951, the School of the Air at Alice Springs in Central Australia broadcast its first lessons by two-way radio to primary school students in the vast Australian outback. After the 1-hour lesson on air, the students worked with their parents or older siblings on their assignments, which will be submitted to the teacher by Australia Post. 70 years later, the School of the Air has over a dozen more branches in other regional towns, and the school continues to help geographically dispersed learners reduce their educational disadvantage through the current communication technologies. Covering an area greater than 1.3 million square kilometers, which is an area bigger than Peru or Colombia, the School of the Air has been dubbed as the world's largest classroom. SDG 6. Clean water and sanitation. Australia is the driest inhabited continent on Earth, with 70% of the land surface being desert or semi-desert. Water resources are scarce. So in 1989, Australian sanitary ware manufacturer Caroma Industries patented the world's first dual flush toilet to cut water usage in half compared to traditional toilets. Dual flush toilets are now mandatory for all new buildings in Australia and are exported to over 30 countries worldwide. Caroma has become experts in water-saving sanitary ware design, and their product lines include waterless urinals and cisterns with integrated hand-washing basins. SDG 8. Decent work and economic growth. The Escama Studio social enterprise in Brazil produces bags, jewelry, and other fashion accessories crocheted by hand by local artisan women from underprivileged communities, using pull tabs of soft drink cans supplied by recycling centers in the neighborhood. In Peru, the ponchila, which is a backpack or mochila with a built-in poncho, represents a community attempt to redirect plastic packaging away from landfilling or ocean dumping. Citizens are invited to return their plastic bottles for recycling. In 2017, the collection produced 6,000 ponchilas, each being made from 80 PET bottles. In the hope of reducing school dropouts, the ponchilas were handed out to poor children in the Andes. SDG 9. Industry, Innovation, and Infrastructure. In 1988, the Reserve Bank of Australia issued the world's first polymer banknote as currency, a commemorative 10 Australian dollar note. Developed to combat forgery, these polymer banknotes had see-through panels and embedded holograms as anti-counterfeiting features. They were also more durable, reduced the need for frequent replacement, and were less likely to transmit dirt and disease. In 1996, all Australian paper money switched to plastic, and now more than 50 countries use polymer banknote technology on more than 150 denominations. SDG 10. Reduce Inequality. In 2014, Orange Sky Laundry in Brisbane launched the world's first free mobile clothes washing service for the homeless. A van fitted out with 2 large washing machines and dryers, an electricity generator and water tanks, visited homeless hotspots and offered free laundering. 3 years later, Orange Sky had 17 vehicles around Australia and completed almost 35,000 loads of washing for the homeless. Through these actions, the homeless are given dignity and respect apart from getting clean clothes. SDG 11. Sustainable Cities and Communities. Curitiba is a world leader in public transportation innovation. Their success in this area is mainly due to the bold and visionary political leadership of Jaime Lerner, who served as its mayor for 3 terms. In 1974, Lerner pioneered the world's first wide-scale use of the Bus Rapid Transit or BRT concept, which is like a surface subway, consisting of dedicated bus lanes with fast and frequent services and enclosed transit stations with platform-level boarding and pre-boarding fare payment, essentially emulating the performance and amenities of high-capacity railways but at a fraction of the cost. In 1992, Curitiba became the first city in the world to use bi-articulated buses, which are triple-length buses with 2 linked trailer sections that can carry up to 270 passengers. Every day, 10,600 passengers travel in each direction on the Curitiba BRT. Buses on the Green Line run on 100% soybean fuel, while hybrid diesel-electric buses fly its inter-neighborhood line. Curitiba's achievements and experience inspired many cities in Latin America and other developing countries to adopt BRT as a mass mobility option to move large volumes of passengers at high speeds and with low infrastructure cost. Currently, 55 cities in Latin America have 171 BRT corridors spanning 1,800 kilometers and moving 20.5 million passengers per day. A quarter century ago, Medellin was notorious as being one of the most dangerous places on earth. That image is long gone, and now Medellin is celebrated for its many pro-poor urban innovations. A case in point is a Metrocable gondola lift system, intended to provide affordable mobility to the informal settlers living on the steep hills surrounding the city. Opened in 2004, this is the world's first cable-propelled system dedicated for urban public commuting, and it has been carrying 30,000 people every single day. SDG12, Responsible Consumption and Production. Keep Cup is a reusable coffee cup for people who enjoy coffee on the go. Designed and manufactured in Melbourne, the first Keep Cups were sold in 2009 and are now available in 65 countries. Collectively, Keep Cup users around the world divert about 5 million disposable cups from landfill every day. The Red Cycle program is a national retailer-operated initiative to recover soft plastics from consumers, with collection bins conveniently placed outside Australia's largest supermarkets. The collected plastic bags are processed into various recycled plastic products, including outdoor furniture. Since it started in 2011, over 542 million pieces of flexible plastic have been prevented from going into landfill, the beaches, or the waterways. Mobile Master is the product-steward initiative of the Australian mobile phone industry. It is voluntarily funded by all the major handset manufacturers and network carriers. Its extensive collection network provides 3,500 public drop-off points at post offices, mobile phone retailers, workplaces, schools, and local councils. Since its launch in 1998, Mobile Master has collected and recycled 1,400 tons of mobile phones, batteries, and chargers. Clean Up Australia was the idea of Ian Kiernan after he was disgusted by the pollution and rubbish in the oceans while sailing around the world. In 1990, he launched Clean Up Australia with 300,000 volunteers participating. The first Sunday of March is now designated as Clean Up Australia Day, the largest community-based environmental action in the country, running for almost 30 years now. Every year, Clean Up Australia publishes the Rubbish Report, which provides a snapshot of the types of rubbish collected on Clean Up Australia Day. This information has been successfully used to advocate for container deposit legislation after seeing that the PET bottles, glass bottles, and aluminum cans are consistently in the top 10 items found during the cleanup. In 1993, with the support of the United Nations Environment Program, Ian Kiernan launched the international campaign Clean Up the World, and is now held every third weekend of September. Over the last 25 years, 35 million people have joined in this effort, in 49,000 environmental projects in 130 countries. The Clean Up the World movement proved that this simple Australian idea has enough universal appeal to mobilize millions of people around the globe to take responsibility for their own environment. Life Below Water. The Australian government funds the Return Unwanted Medicines project to enable community pharmacies to retrieve unwanted and out-of-date medications from consumers without any fees. Unwanted medicines pose the danger of being misused, abused, or pose harm to children. They are also thrown irresponsibly into the bin or disposed down the sink or toilet, but this could endanger marine life. SDG 16, Peace and Justice and Strong Institutions. License plate theft is on the rise in Australia. In Victoria alone, the number of stolen registration plates has risen by 40% to 21,000 in 2017. Offenders use the stolen plates to mislead authorities when committing petrol theft, drug trafficking, robberies, and toll evasion. To combat this, state police departments across Australia regularly conduct Operation Safe Plate Day, in which motorists are provided with tamper-resistant one-way screws to replace the regular screws on their number plates. Once the security fasteners are installed over the vehicle plate and tightened, they can only be removed at the local police station or through authorized mechanics. The 60 case studies that I've collected so far, of which I have shown but a small sample, show strong evidence that Australia and Latin America are hotbeds of sustainable innovation. Evidence also shows that several of these solutions have universal appeal and can be directly transferred from one cultural context to another. Examples are Curitiba's BRT, Bogota's Ciclovia Recreativa, Medellin's Metrocable, and Australia's Clean Up the World movement, as well as the Keep Cup. I believe that showcasing these innovations is useful in inspiring design thinkers, change makers, educators, and policymakers, and can provide a meaningful starting point or emulation point for others to consider in adapting to their own local context. Albert Einstein is often quoted as having said that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Indeed, solving the grand challenges of the UN Sustainable Development Goals demands radical rethinking in order to generate revolutionary ideas rather than evolutionary thinking, which would only yield incremental ideas. Behavioral and cultural change are often required to implement radical breakthrough solutions in the community, and innovators can often avoid resistance and facilitate acceptance by co-designing the solutions with stakeholders and involving them intensively from the very start. But there are always exceptions to the rules. Jaime Lerner wasn't consultative when he first pedestrianized Curitiba's main street almost overnight. Instead, he just did it. Thanks for your attention.